Dad perfect events. The phone rang at 2:47 a.m. In 35 years of practicing family law, I'd learned that nothing good comes from calls at that hour. My wife Diana stirred beside me as I fumbled for my reading glasses and checked the screen. Ashley's name glowed in the darkness. "Grandpa?" Her voice came through, broken and small. "Grandpa, I need you." "My name is Mitchell Torres. I'm 58 years old, and I'm a retired family law attorney who spent most of my career protecting kids who couldn't protect themselves. That night, I discovered my own granddaughter needed that protection more than I'd ever imagined. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Where are you?" "I'm home. They left without me, Grandpa. They went on the cruise without me." The words hit me like a freight train. Ashley was 9 years old. She should have been asleep in her bed 15 miles away, not calling me in the middle of the night, crying so hard I could hear her gasping for breath between sobs. "Where's Mrs. Rodriguez? She's here, but I don't understand. Why didn't they take me? What did I do wrong? I tried to be good, Grandpa. I tried so hard." Mrs. Carmen Rodriguez, the babysitter. My son Brandon and his wife Melissa had taken their 12-year-old son, Tyler, on a 10-day Caribbean cruise. They'd been planning it for months, talking about it constantly at family dinners. Ashley had been excited about it for weeks, counting down the days on a calendar she kept by her bed. She had even asked Diana to take her shopping for a new swimsuit just last Tuesday. "Put Mrs. Rodriguez on the phone," I said, my voice harder than I intended. Diana was sitting up now, her hand on my arm, concern written across her face. The babysitter's voice came through, apologetic and confused. "Mr. Torres, I'm so sorry to call so late. Ashley woke up about an hour ago asking where everyone was. I thought maybe she'd just forgotten they were leaving early for the airport, but she says they told her she was going too. She's been crying ever since. I didn't know what else to do. You did exactly the right thing. I'm on my way. 20 minutes. I was already out of bed, pulling on jeans and a sweater. Diana was moving too, not asking questions yet, because after 30 years of marriage, she knew me well enough to know I'd explain everything in the car. The drive to Brandon's house took 18 minutes. I might have broken a few speed limits, but the roads were empty at 3:15 in the morning. Diana sat beside me, her jaw set in that way that told me she was already putting the pieces together. "They wouldn't just forget her," she said quietly. "No," I agreed, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "They wouldn't forget," which meant this was deliberate. My son and his wife had intentionally left my granddaughter behind while they took Tyler, their biological son, on a $5,000 Caribbean cruise. Ashley had come into our family 3 years ago, already carrying more pain than any 6-year-old should know. Her biological parents had died in a car accident, and after bouncing through 3 different foster homes, she'd finally landed with Brandon and Melissa. The adoption had been finalized 18 months ago. We'd thrown a big party, celebrating her officially becoming a Torres. I remembered how she'd cried happy tears when the judge made it official. I pulled into their driveway. The house was dark except for the living room light. Through the front window, I could see Ashley curled up on the couch, Mrs. Rodriguez sitting beside her, rubbing her back. The girl's small body was still shaking with sobs. Diana put her hand on my chest as I got out of the car, stopping me at the front door. "Remember who needs you right now," she said softly. "Ashley needs her grandfather, not your anger. She was right. She always was." I took a deep breath, unclenched my fists, and knocked gently before letting myself in with the spare key Brandon had given me years ago. Ashley looked up when we entered. Her face was blotchy and swollen, her dark hair tangled from sleep and tears. When she saw me, she launched herself off the couch and into my arms with the force of a child who'd been holding herself together and could finally let go. "I don't understand," she sobbed into my shoulder. "Why didn't they wake me up? Did I do something bad? I cleaned my room, and I didn't fight with Tyler, and I ate all my vegetables at dinner." Over her head, I met Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes. She looked absolutely miserable, wringing her hands. "I should have called you earlier, Mr. Torres," she said. "But when I got here yesterday evening, Melissa told me Ashley was grounded, that it was a last-minute punishment for talking back, and I was supposed to stay with her while they went on their trip. But Ashley didn't know anything about being grounded. She kept asking when they were coming to get her." My jaw tightened. "What exactly did Melissa tell you? That Ashley had been disrespectful and needed to learn consequences?" "But, Mr. Torres, I've been watching these kids for 2 years. Ashley is the most polite child I know. She always says please and thank you. She's never talked back to anyone. Diana was already moving through the house with purpose. She came back a few minutes later carrying Ashley's suitcase, the small pink one with unicorns that had been packed and ready by the front door for 2 weeks. It was still sitting in Ashley's room, completely untouched. "Ashley," Diana said gently, crouching down beside us, "did Mommy and Daddy tell you yesterday that you weren't going on the cruise?" Ashley shook her head vigorously against my shoulder. "No! Mommy said we were leaving extra early because the ship leaves at 11 o'clock. She said to go to sleep and she'd wake me up at 5 o'clock so we could drive to the airport. But nobody woke me up. When I called Mommy's phone, it went straight to voicemail, Daddy's too. They'd turned off their phones. They'd left their 9-year-old daughter behind, lied to the babysitter about why, turned off their phones, and sailed away to the Caribbean with their biological son. But here's the thing about being a family law attorney for 35 years. You learn to think strategically, not just emotionally. You learn to see patterns of behavior, to recognize when something isn't an isolated incident but part of a larger problem. And looking at Ashley's tear-stained face, combined with what Mrs. Rodriguez was telling me, I realized this situation needed more than just an emotional response. It needed documentation, evidence, and a plan. "Ashley," I said, pulling back so I could look at her red-rimmed eyes, "how would you like to go on that cruise?" Her eyes widened with hope, then immediately dimmed. "But they already left without me." "I know they did, sweetheart, but I happen to know that cruise ship doesn't actually leave Fort Lauderdale until 11 this morning. It's 3:30 now. That gives us 7.5 hours to drive down there and meet them at the ship. Can we really do that?" "Ashley, I can do anything I need to do to make sure you're okay." While Diana helped Ashley pack, fresh clothes and Mrs. Rodriguez gathered her things, I made some crucial phone calls. First, the cruise line. Royal Caribbean's emergency booking line was surprisingly helpful at 4 a.m. "Yes, sir, we do have cabins available on the Harmony of the Seas departing Fort Lauderdale at 11 a.m. However, there's a substantial last-minute booking premium, how substantial, for an interior cabin, $1,200 per person. Ocean View would be $1,800 each. Book the Ocean View. 3 passengers." I didn't hesitate. This was about more than money. Then I called my former law partner, Steve Martinez. He wasn't thrilled to hear from me at 4:15 a.m., but Steve had been handling family law cases for 20 years. He understood the urgency when I explained the situation. "Mitchell, this sounds like a clear pattern of discriminatory treatment toward the adopted child. You need to start documenting everything immediately, already planning on it. I mean everything. Every conversation, every text message, every witness. Statement. Save that voicemail Ashley left you. Get Mrs. Rodriguez to write down exactly what Melissa told her about the grounding story. If this goes where I think it might, you'll need a comprehensive paper trail. Steve, what are we looking at legally? Potentially? Child abandonment, discriminatory treatment in an adoption case, emotional abuse. Florida takes this stuff seriously, especially when there's a pattern. But Mitchell, you'll need solid documentation. Melissa's not going to just admit to this." I understood. In family law, documentation isn't just helpful. It's everything. Next, I called my daughter Rachel in California. She needed to know what her brother had done. Her response was immediate and furious. "Are you kidding me? They left Ashley? I'm booking a flight. I'll be there tomorrow. Rachel, don't do anything rash. I'm handling this." "Dad, Ashley is going to think she's not wanted. Again. After everything she's been through with losing her parents and those awful foster homes, she was right. That's exactly what Ashley would think." By 4:30, we were on the road. I'd thrown some clothes in a bag, grabbed my laptop and phone charger, and loaded Ashley's suitcase, the one she'd packed so carefully 2 weeks ago, into my truck. Diana drove while Ashley dozed fitfully in the back seat, exhausted from crying. I spent the first hour making more calls. My lawyer's mind was already working. I called Mrs. Rodriguez's cell and asked her to email me a detailed account of everything Melissa had told her, with exact quotes if possible. I had her write down the timeline, when she arrived, what she was told, when Ashley woke up asking about the cruise. "Mr. Torres, I have to tell you something else," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "This isn't the first time I've noticed Melissa treating Ashley differently than Tyler." "What do you mean?" "Little things. Like when I'm there for date nights, Melissa always reminds me about Tyler's bedtime routine, his favorite snacks, whether he has homework. But with Ashley, it's just put her to bed at 8:30. And Ashley always tries so hard to be perfect when her parents are around. It's like she's afraid of making them angry. I felt sick. Carmen, I need you to write all of this down. Everything you've observed over the past 2 years. Can you do that for me? Of course. That little girl deserves better. As we drove through the pre-dawn darkness on I-95, I started building a timeline in my head. Ashley had been with Brandon and Melissa for 3 years, adopted for 18 months. During that time, had there been other incidents? Other times when she was excluded or treated differently than Tyler? I thought about family gatherings. Ashley was always quieter during those, always watching Melissa's face for approval. Tyler was boisterous and confident. He knew he belonged. Ashley still moved through the world, like she was afraid someone might tell her it was all a mistake. Diana caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "What are you thinking about?" "Patterns," I said quietly. "I'm starting to see a pattern I should have noticed earlier. You can't blame yourself for not seeing it. I'm a family law attorney, Diana. Recognizing signs of emotional abuse and discrimination is literally what I did for a living. I should have seen this. You're also a grandfather who wanted to believe his son had created a loving home for that little girl." We reached the Florida border just as the sun was coming up. Ashley woke up and asked for McDonald's, so we stopped for breakfast. Watching her pick at her Egg McMuffin, I could see the wheels turning in her 9-year-old brain. "Grandpa, what if they don't want me on the cruise? What if they get mad that I'm there?" I knelt down beside her booth. "Ashley, I need you to listen to me very carefully. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. You were invited on this cruise. You packed your suitcase. You were told you were going. The fact that they left without you says something about them, not about you." She nodded, but I could see she didn't quite believe it yet. We reached Port Everglades at 9:30 a.m. The parking garage was absolute chaos. Families rushing toward the terminal with overloaded luggage carts and excited kids wearing Mickey Mouse ears. Ashley was quiet, holding my hand so tight it almost hurt. She'd put on her favorite sundress, the yellow one with white flowers that Diana had bought her for Easter. The check-in process was surprisingly smooth. Having booked online during the drive helped, and the staff were efficient despite the crowds. By 10:15, we were through security and walking toward the gangway. "Grandpa," Ashley whispered as we walked up the ramp toward the massive ship. "What if they're really mad at me?" I stopped walking and knelt down so we were eye level, not caring about the stream of passengers moving around us. "Ashley, listen to me. You have every right to be on this ship. You belong here just as much as anyone else. And whatever happens today, remember that you are loved, you are wanted. And Grandma Diana and I will always, always be on your side." The ship was enormous, a floating city of white steel and glass. We found our cabin on deck 8, dropped off our bags, and I checked the ship's app on my phone. There was a mandatory muster drill at 10:30, followed by the sail-away party on the Lido deck at 11 o'clock. Perfect. That's where everyone would be gathering. That's where we'd find Brandon, Melissa, and Tyler. And that's where I'd start gathering the evidence I needed to make sure this never happened to Ashley again. As we rode the elevator up to deck 11 for the sail-away party, I felt the familiar weight of building a case settling onto my shoulders. It was the same feeling I'd had representing dozens of vulnerable children over the years, making sure they were protected from the adults who were supposed to love them. The difference was, this time, it was personal. We found them at the sail-away party. The Lido deck was packed, with passengers, music blasting from the speakers, people dancing and celebrating as the ship slowly pulled away from the dock. And there, near the portside railing, I spotted my family. Brandon was laughing at something Tyler said, his arm casually draped around Melissa's waist. Tyler was wearing a brand new Royal Caribbean t-shirt, his face flushed with excitement as he pointed at the Miami skyline. Melissa looked completely relaxed, a frozen margarita in her hand, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the ocean breeze. They looked like the picture-perfect American family, enjoying their dream vacation. Without the daughter they'd deliberately left behind. Ashley saw them at the exact same moment I did. She froze beside me, her small hand tightening around mine like a vice. "There they are," she whispered, and I could hear the hope and fear warring in her voice. Tyler spotted us first. His mouth literally dropped open in shock. "Grandpa? Ashley, what are you..." How did you... Brandon turned at the sound of Tyler's voice. The color completely drained from his face when he saw us standing there. Melissa's expression cycled rapidly through surprise, confusion, and then unmistakable anger. "Dad!" Brandon's voice cracked slightly. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same question," I said, keeping my voice level and calm. "But I think the more important question is why Ashley is standing here with me instead of with her family." People around us were starting to notice the tension. The music seemed too loud, the celebration too bright for the confrontation that was clearly unfolding. Melissa recovered first, her face quickly arranging itself into a pleasant, concerned expression. "Mitchell, there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Ashley was grounded yesterday for being disrespectful. We had to make a difficult parenting decision about consequences." "Don't." The single word came out sharper than I'd intended. "Don't you dare lie to me, Melissa. Ashley didn't know anything about being grounded. You told her she was going on this cruise. She packed her suitcase 2 weeks ago. She went to sleep last night, thinking you'd wake her up at 5 a.m. to go to the airport. Dad, maybe we should talk about this somewhere." "Private," Brandon said, glancing nervously at the growing number of interested spectators. "No, I don't think so. What you did wasn't private. You abandoned your daughter. You took your biological son on a luxury vacation and left your adopted daughter at home with a babysitter." Melissa's pleasant mask was starting to slip. "You have no right to interfere with our parenting decisions, Mitchell." "Actually, I do. See, I spent 35 years as a family law attorney specializing in child welfare cases. I know exactly what constitutes child abandonment and discriminatory treatment in adoption situations. And what you did? It's textbook emotional abuse." "That's ridiculous," Melissa snapped. "I have been nothing but good to that child. I adopted her. I gave her a home." "You gave her the appearance of a home," I replied steadily. "There's a difference. And the second it became convenient to exclude her, you showed her exactly where she really stands in your priorities." Brandon looked physically sick, his eyes darting between me and Ashley, who was standing slightly behind Diana, silent and small. Tyler was staring at his mother with an expression I couldn't quite read, like he was seeing something for the first time. "Brandon," I said, turning to face my son directly, "look at your daughter. Look at her face right now and tell me you did the right thing." He looked, really looked at Ashley. She was trying so hard not to cry, biting her lower lip until I could see the white pressure marks. She was 9 years old, standing on a cruise ship in her prettiest dress, having been abandoned by the people who had promised to love her unconditionally. Something broke in Brandon's expression. "Oh, God," he whispered. "Ashley, No," Melissa interrupted sharply. "Don't you dare apologize, Brandon. We discussed this. We agreed that she needed to learn about consequences for her behavior. You decided," Brandon said, his voice growing stronger. "You decided Ashley needed to be punished for something that wasn't even her fault. You decided a 9-year-old girl who's already lost one family should be taught that love is conditional, and I went along with it because I wanted to avoid another fight with you. Brandon, I'm not done," he continued. "I went along with it because I wanted peace in my house. I sacrificed my daughter's emotional well-being for peace, and that makes me exactly the kind of father I swore I'd never be." He took a step toward Ashley, but she instinctively moved closer to Diana. The look on Brandon's face when his own daughter flinched away from him was absolutely devastating. Good. He needed to understand the full weight of what his choices had cost. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice calm, but carrying the authority of someone who'd spent decades in courtrooms. "Ashley is going to enjoy every single minute of this cruise she was promised. She's going to swim and eat ice cream and see the shows and visit every port. You want to spend time with her? You ask permission first. You want to apologize? You do it when she's ready to hear it, not when it's convenient for you." I turned to face Melissa directly. "And you are going to stay completely away from her. Because if I see you make that child feel unwanted one more time, I will use every contact I have in the Florida family court system to document your pattern of discriminatory behavior." "You can't threaten me," Melissa hissed, her composure finally cracking completely. "That's not a threat. It's a legal fact. I know how to gather evidence, how to present it, and how to build a case that will stand up in court. What happened here today? This isn't an isolated incident. This is the culmination of a pattern, and I'm going to prove it. Tyler suddenly broke free from his mother's side and ran toward us. "Ashley, I'm so sorry," he said, throwing his arms around his sister. "I didn't know they weren't bringing you. Mom told me you were flying down separately to meet us. I've been looking for you all morning." Ashley hugged him back, and watching her forgive her brother instantly, without hesitation, made something crack open in my chest. That's what unconditional love looked like. That's what this child deserved and wasn't getting from the adults who had promised to protect her. "It's okay, Tyler," she said softly. "You didn't do anything wrong." "Come on," I said, taking Ashley's free hand, while Tyler kept his arm around her shoulders. "Let's go explore this ship." And for the rest of that first day, that's exactly what we did. We went to the water slides, the arcade, the ice cream bar. We watched Ashley slowly start to relax, to smile, to remember what it felt like to just be a kid again instead of a child. Walking on eggshells, afraid of being sent away. But while Ashley played, my lawyer brain was working overtime. I was documenting everything, taking photos, making notes on my phone, recording conversations in public areas where it was legal to do so. Every interaction with Melissa, every moment of tension, every time Ashley flinched or looked anxious. Because I knew this cruise was just the beginning. The real fight was going to start when we got home. The cruise ended, but my work was just beginning. Back home in Tampa, I transformed my home office into a war room. For the next 4 months, I did what I do best. I built a case. First, I hired Maria Santos, the best private investigator I knew from my attorney days. Maria had a talent for finding patterns that others missed. Within 2 weeks, she'd uncovered Melissa's social media posts going back 3 years. Posts that painted a very interesting picture. "Look at this, Mitchell," Maria said, spreading printed screenshots across my desk. "Here's Melissa's Facebook from Tyler's 11th birthday party last year. 23 photos of Tyler, the decorations, the cake. Ashley appears in exactly 2 photos, both times in the background. She pulled out more printouts. Here's their trip to Disney World 8 months ago. 47 photos. Tyler is featured prominently in 45 of them. Ashley appears in 3, and in 2 of those, she's partially cut off. The pattern was undeniable. Maria had documented dozens of family events where Ashley was systematically minimized or excluded from Melissa's social media narrative. But social media was just the beginning. I reached out to Ashley's teacher, Mrs. Jennifer Coleman, who'd taught 2nd and 3rd grade for 15 years. She agreed to meet with me after school one day. "Mr. Torres, I've been wondering when someone would ask about Ashley's situation at home," Mrs. Coleman said, stirring her coffee in the empty classroom. "She's such a sweet child, but she exhibits classic signs of anxiety around family-related activities." "What do you mean?" "Mother's Day crafts, family tree projects, anything involving family photos. She always asks multiple times if her work is good enough, and gets very upset if other children talk about family vacations or special trips. Last month, when Tyler came to school talking about the cruise they were planning, Ashley got very quiet and asked me if adopted kids sometimes get unadopted if they're not good enough. I felt sick. Did you document any of this?" I made notes in her file. I was actually planning to recommend family counseling at her next parent conference. Mrs. Coleman provided me with copies of her observations, dating back 8 months. They painted a picture of a child living in the constant fear of displacement. Meanwhile, Brandon was falling apart. He'd moved into my old guest bedroom after Melissa kicked him out for siding with his father against his wife. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was learning what it felt like to be unwanted in his own home. "Dad, I need to tell you something," he said one evening after Ashley had gone to bed. The cruise wasn't the first time Melissa excluded Ashley. I figured as much. Tell me everything. For the next 2 hours, Brandon laid out a pattern of behavior that made my blood boil. Birthday parties where Ashley got smaller gifts than Tyler. Family restaurant trips where Melissa would order Tyler's favorite meals, but just get Ashley whatever's fine. Christmas mornings where Tyler's pile of presents towered over Ashley's modest stack. I told myself it was because Tyler was older, or because Melissa was still adjusting to having Ashley in the family. I made excuses because I didn't want to fight about it. I failed her, Dad. I failed my daughter. "Yes, you did," I said bluntly. "But you can start making it right now by testifying to everything you just told me." By month 3 of my investigation, I had enough evidence to bury Melissa in family court. Maria had interviewed 6, neighbors, Ashley's former babysitters, and even Melissa's own sister, who admitted that Melissa had always referred to Ashley as Brandon's project rather than our daughter. The financial records were particularly damning. I'd subpoenaed credit card statements that showed a clear disparity in spending. Tyler's back-to-school shopping, $847. Ashley's, $312. Tyler's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese for 20 kids, $1,200. Ashley's birthday celebration at home with cake from the grocery store, $67. The cruise was just the final, most blatant example of a pattern that had been going on for years. In month 4, I sat down with Brandon and laid out his options. We can file for emergency custody modification based on Melissa's discriminatory treatment pattern. With the evidence we have, I'm confident we can get you primary custody and severely limit Melissa's access to Ashley. What will it cost? My friend Steve Martinez is handling the case. He's giving us the family rate, $15,000 plus court. Costs. Maria's investigation fees were another $5,000, so we're looking at about $22,000 total. Dad, I can't afford. I'm paying for it. This isn't about money. This is about making sure Ashley never again has to wonder if she's wanted. The custody hearing was scheduled for month 14 after the cruise. Family court moved slowly, but Steve had filed for emergency temporary custody, which was granted after the judge reviewed our evidence. Melissa's attorney tried to argue that the cruise incident was a misunderstanding and that Melissa had bonding challenges that could be resolved with counseling. Steve methodically presented our evidence: the social media analysis, the spending records, the teacher testimonials, the witness statements. The judge, Honorable Patricia Williams, had been on the family court bench for 12 years. She'd seen it all. After reviewing our documentation, she looked directly at Melissa. Mrs. Torres, I've rarely seen such a clear pattern of discriminatory treatment toward an adopted child. Your behavior constitutes emotional abuse and systematic exclusion based on biological status. The ruling was swift and comprehensive. Brandon received primary custody. Melissa was granted supervised visitation with Tyler only, no contact with Ashley until she completed 6 months of family therapy. The court also ordered Melissa to pay for Ashley's therapy costs. But perhaps the most satisfying moment came when Judge Williams addressed the cruise incident specifically. The deliberate abandonment of a 9-year-old child, followed by lies to cover up that abandonment, demonstrates a fundamental inability to provide stable, loving care. Melissa's lawyer tried to negotiate, but Steve held firm. My client isn't interested in compromise. We want protection for this child. 14 months after that, 2:47 a.m. phone call, the legal battle was over. Total cost, $18,000 in legal fees, $4,500 for private investigation, and about 300 hours of my time, worth every penny and every sleepless night. Ashley started therapy with Dr. Rachel Kim twice a week. The nightmares came back initially, but slowly, with professional help and consistent love from people who chose to show up for her, she began to heal. Brandon bought a smaller house just 3 miles from ours. The 3 of them, Brandon, Ashley, and Tyler, built a new life together. Not perfect, but honest. A life where Ashley didn't have to earn her place at the table every single day. Diana and I see them 3 times a week now. Ashley stays over every Friday night for what we call Grandparent Fridays. Sometimes we watch movies and eat popcorn. Other nights, she wants to talk about the hard stuff. We listen. We stay. We remind her she's chosen. Melissa eventually moved to Atlanta to live with her parents. She remarried 18 months later and seems happy in her Instagram posts. Tyler visits her twice a year. They never mention Ashley, which is exactly how Ashley prefers it. I practice family law for 35 years, thinking I understood how to protect children. But it turns out the most important case I ever built wasn't for a client. It was for my granddaughter, proving that families aren't created by biology alone, but by showing up every single day and choosing love over convenience. Sometimes protection means building a methodical legal case, gathering evidence, and using the system to deliver justice. Sometimes it means a 2:47 a.m. drive to Florida. But what matters most is making sure a child knows they're wanted, they're chosen, and they're home. Watching Ashley laugh freely now, seeing her trust that she's truly safe, that's the best verdict I ever helped deliver. The strongest foundation you can build for any family isn't made of money or blood. It's built one choice at a time, choosing to protect the vulnerable over protecting your own comfort. I learned that real power isn't about winning arguments or proving you're right. It's about using everything you know to make sure a child never has to wonder if they matter.